Those brothers who are sitting towards the back, inshallah, you can come towards the front. Jazakallah khair.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. In a world of what is known as cause and effect, sabab and musabbab, and because we see the repetition of cause and effect so much, the same moment the sun will rise, it's sitting on the calendar, it has never moved from its cause. It can now be recorded that at this time it will rise, at this time it will set. We saw the fire that always burns, we never saw the fire that does not burn. We saw cold water creates a cold feeling and hot water creates a warm feeling. We saw when the sun is out, it is warm. When the sun is not out, it is cloudy, it is cold. Allah Tabarak Ta'ala created us in a system of everything goes in the same line. And then an exam was given to the world that despite seeing everything happening in the same manner, don't ever attribute it to what we call, the world calls today, nature. Had it been not happening according to a system, then there would be not a single person in this world except that he would have believed in one Allah. Then there would have been no real exam. The exam was when the person is not seeing. First, beginning of Quran, Alif Lam Mim, Dhalikal Kitab, this is the book. This Quran is such a Quran, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, if you put it on the mountain would have broken. But Almighty Allah would not show the world how the mountain breaks, so He dissolves this Quran's power. It became so easy for me and you. First when it descended on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After so much of what was called diluting. If you study in the ahadith, the system of wahi, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's strength was the strength of 100 men. But when wahi would come with him, he would say it's intense. Aisha radiallahu anha would say, on a cold night, I would find the Nabi of Allah perspiring, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. They said, we saw the time when wahi came and he was on a camel, and we saw the camel finally had to sit down. The weight what a camel can manage, it was already diluted. It was coming in the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the camel wasn't bearing really anything. But even then the camel could not manage. A Sahabi radiallahu anhu says, the head of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was on my lap. Wahi started. He said, I want to say to Allah's Nabi, can you move your head? But against respect it is. He said, I really thought that the bones of my leg were going to now give in. But he was not taking the weight of wahi. The weight of wahi was already diluted and the rest was being taken by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So heavy it was. Had Allah wanted to, He could have shown an example of that weight and you would have seen buildings collapsed. Then the whole world would have said, what a power this is mine. But then there would have been no exam. Similarly, Allah kept His own doing so hidden. But the people of Iman were told, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. This is a book in which there is no doubt. But who will only understand and take to this book? الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. People who have firm conviction is what is called the unseen. A system that we don't see, but we allow our eyes to see it. We are the people who will read Quran. And if we have a little understanding of meaning of Quran, we will understand we are the only ones who understand that where the fire burns everyone, But when Ibrahim alayhi salam is thrown in the fire, one command of Allah comes, the fire does not burn Ibrahim alayhi salam. We are the only ones who will understand that in a time of exam, imtihan, difficulty, to be able to live easy doesn't mean you have to be out of the difficulty. But ask, what does that mean? People in this world, when they search, they're searching for a world with no problems, which is called Jannah on earth. You don't get Jannah on earth. This is a world that comes with happiness and sadness, health and sickness, wealth and poverty. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam combined both so that his ummah would see, in my Nabi both came. There was times when he was the healthiest of healthy. He was a Nabi of Allah who was the strongest of all. But when the time of his demise came, he became so ill, so ill. When they saw him, they said, perhaps no one has gone through the pains of death as much as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The fever that his body went through, no one in this world would ever. The Sahabi radiallahu anhu said, is this not double the heat of a normal man? He was not exaggerating, it was double. In the normal medicine world, you can't have double fever. Like the heat of that fever, they say if it goes slightly higher, the brain will become affected. They said, drop the level, it can't. You can't have double that amount. The Sahabi says, I felt the heat from the cloth that was covering the chest of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I put my hand there to say, Nabi of Allah, how are you? And it burnt me and I moved my hand back. And then I said, what fever is this? Is this double? And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, because Allah doubles the rewards of His servants. But he had to go through that sickness also, so that the people in his ummah who will be healthy will have someone, and when they are not healthy, they'll also have a Rasul. They'll also have an example. In health he remained smiling, and in sickness he showed the world how with pain you can still remain smiling. His sakarat was the most severe. Some ulama mentioned as though it was that he had asked Almighty Allah, most of the pain of sakarat which my ummah have to go through, just bring it on me. I will take it. He said to the angel of death, now be easy with my ummah. The angel of death said, Allah has already commanded me that I must be easy with every ummati of yours. But still the pang of death, it's still painful. In those days he would say, La ilaha illallah. Then he would say, Inna lil maut la sakarat. That indeed the pain of death is something. A man with the power of 100 men. But he had to go through that also to show the world. There was the days that he was like a king. And majority of his life he showed the world how to live without anything. There were days when someone would bring a huge amount of wealth and he could build up his house. Badshah had entered. But in the night already everything was gone. Back into poverty. It was the only place you will sign ikhtiyari faqr. That from his own side he said, I choose poverty for myself. Ulama have written this he also did as a kindness to his ummah. Because majority of man will never be in the rich bracket. Majority is always in the poor bracket. We sometimes when we look at people around us, then it creates a feeling of ingratitude to the favors of Allah. Because whoever I see, I only look at the one who is enjoying more than me. Which Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't do that. He said, when your eye will go to someone who got more than you, allow that same eye to go to someone who got less than you. He said, then you will not show unappreciation to the favors of Almighty. But because we live in what we call the world countries, and we are not ready to make journeys into places where they are asking for help. Sometimes we give our zakat. We say they're going to Turkey, there was earthquakes here, take it. The Mubarak that money went. And it will help someone so much. And it will help me and you in the year after, because every pound that goes in zakat, sometimes we think no reward for it. The reward of a farz, no nafal charity can ever equal. Every pound of zakat given, you will see it one day as you will see your farz salah. It will help us in the year after. It will remove stinginess from us. But the third purpose of charity, ni'mal amir ala babil faqir. The best rich man is the one who's on the door of the poor person. That one we will not get until me and you say that the next year I'm gathering the zakat of my family and myself I'll pay for my accommodation. I'll ask an organization that's going that I myself want to distribute mine. So can you make the arrangements? We will reach there. We will have envelopes. We will put our zakat in the envelope. You will take us to the places. We paid for our traveling. We go holiday every year. But have you ever thought, go to a place where there are tents and then see lines of people who are just like me and you, actually much more handsome, beautiful, intelligent. And when you see that person coming, after that one envelope is given, you will say the trip was worth it. I learned a lesson now that what Allah has given. And then you will make dua, Allah, it's easier to be the giving hand than to be the receiving hand. We think sometimes that majority of the world is in the rich bracket. It's not like that. Majority of the world is in the bracket that whatever comes for them, that's good for the whole year. Some places we went to, I saw the person, they gave oil, 5-liter oil, and the person who had to take it had to walk 5 miles, 5 kilos, maybe 3 miles. So there's a whole group of people who walked. Then they took, so they gave them oil, they gave them flour, they gave them a packet. They take that packet and they put it on their heads. And now they'll walk back that 3, 4, 5 miles. A weight which me and you can't even walk from the shop to the car. We'll say, where's the trolley? They got no trolley, they'll put it on their head. As the people are walking away, distribution took place 3 hours. It was something to see. Then I asked, what happens when the oil gets finished? Because normally our 5-liter oil gets finished in 1 month, 2 months. He says, no, they'll use this oil for 1 year. He said, Eid will be so enjoyable because they'll be making food with oil. So I said, what you mean? Like you don't make food? Everyone makes food. He said, no, they don't make food with oil. Oil they don't have. He said, you see those plants that are here? This is their food. They'll take that plant and they'll crush it. It will be dry. Whole year they'll live on that dry. But when they get oil, it's Eid for them. Today they'll put oil in that thing and it will become like soft. That's their Eid. He said, they are so thrilled. He said, this will last them the whole year. Next year they'll come back for 5 liters. When you will look at that, then you will say, Allah, what you have given. Then we will understand that hadith, the one who got a roof over his head, and he got a conveyance, and he got the sustenance of his day, he has been given the world with what it contains. Meaning you are the king itself. We will sometimes not understand when we're looking at the other king. The man next to me is a bigger king. He said, he got so much. The man forget, I also got lot. He said, let the eye go to places which are under you, and they are lot. Then we will understand. Then it will be appreciation. But that was just off the topic. What I was trying to say is, in this world, if this eye can be able to see the doing of Almighty Allah, not just nature, it's not just happening, so Ibrahim alayhi salam falls in the fire. It doesn't burn. We always thought to come out of the problem, that is Jannah. Iman and Islam would think that sometimes being in the problem itself and you don't have to have any stress at all. The world with this system of sabab and asbab says impossible. So they will immediately start when a child starts, that the first thing is, what are you going to do when you get old? The child is only born already, but he has to start thinking that till the age of about 15, 16, your father can look after you. But after 16, 17, you have to get a job. The reason is because wealth will only come with a good job. So the boy's mind is already there. Had at that early age he been told that Allah has said, لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى. That remember, worry about your salah. He said, as for sustenance, Allah said, I'm not asking you, you must look after your sustenance. He said, I'm telling you, I'll send your sustenance. The doors of inspiration for everyone opens up when the time comes. The father, he doesn't have to worry to tell the child what you're going to do when you grow up. Almighty Allah says that will inspire him directly. You'll find some fathers telling their sons that don't worry of business study. That boy will still carry on. No, I want to do business. And he'll find his ways. There are those people who got knocked out of school. They never finished their studies. They became more wealthier than the people who are still studying. You'll ask what happened. He said, no, I tried this one thing, this thing, it worked, it clicked, and I'm carrying on. He said, my father wanted me to study to become an engineer. I am paying the salaries of engineers at the moment. They all work for me. They building this, they building that. Sustenance comes from Allah. The child will one day worry about that. As for me and you, what must we be worried about? This law is, if you're in a problem, you got problems. Iman was going to teach us it's not true. Iman would show, travel in the world, go and visit places where there are sick people in a hospital. 2 people on the 2 beds got cancer. Both of them now at a stage where the doctor says almost up. One you will see sad and one you will see smiling. Now the question will be, if being out of cancer was a cause of smiling and being in cancer was a cause of depression, I'm finding 2 people here, one smiling, one sad. Which means being in the problem, sometimes in the fire you sometimes burn, sometimes you don't burn. The law was never ever that you don't, must make sure you not. Which a poet said very unique. They are the friends of Allah. That they at the moment in the center of the ocean with waves coming over above them. But when you will look at them, you will think they are on the shore. You'll say, you got no problems to worry about. He's just calm, he's smiling. He said, then there are those people of this world that actually they are on the shore. And Almighty Allah only lets one wave just come a little further and slap them. They just get one slap and they start behaving like they're drowning. That's what me and you go through sometimes. Which Allah Tabarak Ta'ala says, I will just give you a taste of punishment. Just taste. He says at that time, Jazua, man becomes so worried, so confused. As though he says, this is punishment from Allah. He says, you call this punishment. This is just a taste. Me and you, as we go forward, this world will change in unique manners. In the next 10 years, we're going to see sudden change. Sudden change will also result in some people becoming extremely wealthy. And Allah save us all, give us afiyat. We don't want difficulty. Which Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Salullah al-afiyah. Carry on asking Allah for ease. فَإِذَا لَقِيتُمُ الْعَدُوِ. But if ever happens that the enemy does come in front, the problem does come in front, calamity does come in front, he say, فَثْبُتُوا. Then, O servant of Allah, remain strong. Remain strong. That remain strong word, the world forgot it. So whenever a problem came, problem was going to come. But that remain strong was forgotten, the man collapsed. More important than the pocket is the mind. If the mind remains firm, it can work out later on. After 6 months, I'm coming out of this problem. But when the mind collapses, after that, even if you give that man money, his mind collapsed. He can't use that money for anything. As this world is going to change, there's going to be the ultra wealthy. They are told, make sure you see Allah. Because if you lose sight of Allah, your wealth will only make you like Firaun and Qarun. And where they landed with wealth, that person will land. And there will be poor people who will drop from their condition of ease into poverty. We ask Allah, it must not be us. We ask for afiyah. But Allah got a system. In Turkey recently, we might think the earthquake happened where there was only poor people. It wasn't poor people. There were people who were renting, there were people who was the owner of the building. Which the one person which went out on the phones, he said, the other day I was renting and I was unable to pay the rental. So the landlord told me at the end of this month you have to vacate. I said, where am I going to go? He said, my friend, I have to lift up the rental expenses. He said, it was so hard. He told me, end of this month you out. He said, me and that landlord are now in the same tent. We both in the same tent. I was living in his apartment. It was his apartment. The one paying went. The one who was getting paid also went. But if you ever want to see people who are unique in Iman, visit sometimes these lands where they go through calamity, especially Syrians. The people of Sham, Allah bless them with such Iman, such Iman. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when they asked him when fitna will come, he said, alaykum bisham. Hold on to the lands of Sham. He said, that is the land of Iman. To understand it, you'll have to see it. See a man who lost everything. Everything. Forget Sham, people who are now living close to Sham, what we call certain lands of Turkey. Because remember that one part of Turkey where the earthquake hit, that's actually Sham. How they mark out is different marking. One part of Turkey is old Iraq, where Ibrahim alayhi salam was born. He was born in Iraq, today it's Turkey. One part of Turkey is Sham. The earthquake that happened, it's mostly Sham. Even the Turks, the people not from Sham, one person, they took an interview of him. He lost everything. Instead of crying, he says, it's my fault. I worried about studying in England. I think it was England, he said. He said, I came back. He said, for years I never read Quran. He said, now I'm reading Quran. He said, my fault. He said, I thank Allah, He taught me how to read Quran. Which man will smile and say where me and you, if we reading Quran and something happens, we close Quran. There are people of Iman who are in the problem. But when you look at them, you'll say, you got no problems in life. When you'll see those people of Sham, how they smile. Young children. They got nothing in their houses. They're coming and taking clothing. You will say, I went to visit the pharmacy. They have this mobile moveabouts. In that they have medicines. So they reach every place where they got medicines to give to the people because they were in a war area. And in the war areas, me and you might not understand what sickness hits the most. Cancer. Because those weapons that are used are cancerous weapons. So young children also need cancer treatment, and it's very expensive cancer treatment. But one thing you won't see there is antidepressants. Antidepressants. That you see here, the man says, I got a headache, it's paining too much, give me one Panado. That person, he doesn't need antidepressants. Where they got the pressure of the whole world that fell on them. They lost their father, their mother, but you'll see them still sitting and smiling. You wonder, how can you smile when you are in the ocean? So there are some people like that. So it's very off where I wanted to mention. Now coming back, what I wanted to say is, when our eye will come back onto what is called that Allah is the doer and it is not the system. On that we will understand then the power of dua. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, like how Ibrahim alayhi salam fell in the fire. He said that individual who will be faced with the fire of Dajjal. Now Dajjal's fire is different from the fire of Ibrahim alayhi salam. Dajjal's fire is of different types. One will be fire itself, what we call war. The people will be hit with the wars who oppose the system. One is fire which they explain the temptations and attractions. That's me and you. We are living in one fire of the fires of Dajjal. Himself, he has not shown lighting the fire. His agents at the moment are lighting it. And understand where he himself will be lighting it will be even more harder. He said, if you are faced with the fire of Dajjal, that individual who will recite Surah Kahf, which means on a Friday, whole surah or at least 10 verses of the surah, Almighty Allah will make the fire of Dajjal cool for him, just like how Allah made the fire cool for Ibrahim alayhi salam. Now can we understand this? Saying, are you telling me that if I'm in a war-knocked country, I'll be able to live normal? Say, go and see in those countries. And they knocked one time and tomorrow they're busy putting up their house again. Then they get knocked again, they're busy putting it up. The shaitani world just wants to create a mind break. Ask those that got locked up in jails, prisons. As they were going, they said to the person, in Egypt there was the president Muhammad Mursi, he was a man of Iman, Hafiz of Quran. When they locked him up, he asked, can you give me a Quran? Finished. President of the world, you will say, I want a bed. He said, can you send my Quran? They refused him a Quran. Why? Because they know with Quran, this mind will never collapse. So as he was going, he said, no problem, even if you don't give me a Quran, I got it in my heart. Hafiz of Quran. When they took him out for his trial long after, they really thought that now his mind will be gone. He said, I don't need a lawyer, I can speak for myself. A man after so long in prison, that prison is not like your England prisons. It's called torture chambers of the mind. The people in Al-Aqsa and Sham, after seeing what they have seen for so many years, Gaza, you'll really think they lost their mind. But when you go visit those lands, you will see people whose minds are so mature. You will say, you are in the fire of the devil. They say, Allah made it cool for us. Allah made it cool. You'll wonder how they're surviving. We just look at something and we say, I can't sleep tonight. What's happening? They're living in it, living in it. Just like how Allah makes it for them easy, me and you need the trials we're going through also to be made easy. We got our own trials also. There we're seeing one fire, here we're going to see another fire. You're going to see the fire of education, where the education system is going to become so evil, so dirty, that the father will want to say, my son, you can't study this. But the son will say, Daddy, I need to become an engineer. Whatever I must read, even if it's 5-year-old child and he has to see something which got to do with the body of man and woman naked. If the schooling system says it, the father and mother just have to keep quiet. Already it's starting, we might see that Allah save us all. That's a fire. The desire is no child's mind must remain clean. Going in the future, everyone must be dirty. People of Iman, however, understood. There will be those who will be in the fire, but it will be cool for them. I need to make our coming fire cool. The education system, the entertainment system, the business system, the schooling system, the university system, college system, the media system, and worse when pornography will become like normal. It will open up to everyone. And then when they will have things like the metaverse, where you won't only see it now, you'll start experiencing it. Then young daughters, girls, even if they covered completely, and the man says, my daughter never went out of the house. Second question you'll have to ask him, but what does she do in the house? Because the evils of the outside will become so real that it can happen in her bedroom also. How will the father monitor when the fire is being lit? That individual who understands power. So what I wanted to start with was 3 Nabi's dua was mentioned in Quran. Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam, he said, Allah, I thank you for my children. I thank you. A Nabi, immediately he says, Rabbi ja'alni muqim as-salah wa min dhurriyati. Allah, let me be one who establishes the salah and let my children be also. You'll say your child is Ibrahim and Ishaq. And from Ishaq you're going to get Yaqub. From Yaqub you're going to get the Bani Israel. The Anbiya of Allah are going to come. What? You are Ibrahim. He says, no, the devil attacks everyone's family. إِنَّهُنَّ أَضْلَلْنَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ. Allah, these devils have taken so many people away. Look after my family. A Nabi of Allah, Rabbi habli minas salihin. They would sometimes say, Allah, give me a family of pious people. You say, you are Nabi of Allah. They say, no. Do you not read about Nabi Nuh alayhi salam? His one wife never went with him. His one son never went with him. He said, do you not read of Nabi Lut alayhi salam? His one wife never went with him. No law there is that if I'm okay, everyone around me is okay. But we want that. So when the fire is lit, I have to do certain things to make sure it doesn't burn us, it keeps us cool. Number one is called dua. La yaruddul qada illa dua. Nothing changes decisions but dua. Tonight is what we call an odd night. The chance of Laylatul Qadr, it could be tonight, it could be even on an even night. But we were given indications more chance will come on the odd nights. It is a night where power is put into our time zone. When that power is connected with our time zone, whatever action is done becomes powerful. That is called Qadr. Qadr, one meaning is power, a night of power. The dua that is put in that time zone becomes an extremely powerful dua. What a Nabi's dua would do in the past, mine and your dua on the night of Qadr can come like the dua of a Nabi. The Nabi made dua, Allah, my children, and Allah created what children for them. Me and you must understand the power of dua. We might not be able to take away the fire as we go front. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, a time will come where interest will be so covering that if you're not eating from the interest directly, the smoke of the interest will be over everyone. We entered into that era. Today someone says, I don't want to use the money system. You say, where are we going to go? You say, I don't want my child to study. You say, where is he going to study? They have made it so tight. We will always look for ways out of the fire. Never walk in a fire happy. But when the fire becomes so widespread, we have to understand that there are those who will be in the fire but they will not burn. Dua will make that happen. Today when we got chance, I have said this in many masjids, a lot of people, number one, they think Laylatul Qadr only 27th. That's one story. Number two, they always think Laylatul Qadr even every night in the last part of the night. So when Maghrib time comes, no one's bothered. Hey, maybe it's Laylatul Qadr tonight. Isha time, then they start hearing the Imam says it could be Laylatul Qadr. So they say, so what? So it means after Taraweeh, let's engage in some ibadat. The Taraweeh itself is a unique ibadat for Laylatul Qadr. 20 rakats on the night of power is 20 unique rakats of nafal. As soon as Maghrib starts, the night starts. We don't have to wait for the last part of the night, because on that last part we're so involved with our eating. Going to the toilet, getting ready, I'm falling asleep as soon as the adhan of Maghrib is announced. And you see someone breaking his fast. On the odd nights when you put the one date in your mouth, immediately say, if it's a night of power, it is a time for dua. And what dua? That I want to go through the system safe and my children must go safe. Your dua with your hands lifted, without the hands lifted. With wuzu, without wuzu. While you're on the bed and you're extremely tired, and then something happens and you just open your eye, and you say, what was that sound? It was Allah saying, I woke you up so you can make one dua. Salah no one's going to go make. You say, tired I am, I read already. But dua on the night of Qadr is the time to make the future of our progenies. Number one is dua. Number 2 and 3, very quickly. Number 2, whenever someone who you feel is a man of piety comes, and you hear of him in a locality, or you hear there's a man of piety somewhere else nearby, not very far, don't be lazy. Even if we don't like bayanat too much, Make it a habit that our children must get the chance to at least make salam to someone who our hearts say is a man of Allah. And as the child comes, they just say, make dua for my child. And sometimes that dua will change. La yaruddul qada illa dua. Nothing changes but dua. Abdullah bin Abbas radiallahu anh, they say, what knowledge you got. Everyone asking you anything. History, at that time, science of that time, medicine, Nabi Sallallahu Sirat, the wars that took place, at everything you know, maths you know, inheritance you know, where did you learn it? He says, I brought water to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He looked at me, he smiled. It was like a nephew, he hugged me. It was like a cousin, but like a nephew. He hugged me. And he said, Allah bless you with the knowledge of Quran and wisdom. One dua and he became the ocean of knowledge. One dua. Allah has created the ulama of Allah are the inheritors of the Anbiya alayhimus salam. As they inherited from them their knowledge, they also inherited the power of dua. Don't ever be too lazy. Make sure that now and then our children are just brought in front of a great friend of Allah. Just to say, make dua for my child. Number 2. And number 3, as the child gets bigger, then encourage him to spend time in the company of some friend of Allah. Whoever his heart is inclined to. Because there's a law, if you want to make a horse run fast, you don't hit the horse. You put the horse in the company of other horses that are running fast. And as everyone is galloping, that horse also starts moving. Me and you want the tarbiyat of our children nurturing to take place at home. We shout them. We tell them, you're not waking up for Fajr. But if someone says, isn't it time to take them out of the house and put them in some good company? Then the man says, no, he has to study. You say, as long as you don't want your horse to run with other horses, you can kick it to death. That horse is going to get tired and it's become stubborn. Allow it to be in the company of those moving towards Allah. And you will see your child will come home and say, I also want to be Allah's. 3 things, dua, which we spoke a lot about. Have yaqeen on the power of dua. It changes everything. Doesn't mean that the fire mustn't be there. Even if the fire is there, with the power of dua and Surah Kahf on a Friday, the fire inshallah will not harm us. Number 2, to ask the people of Allah for dua. And number 3, to encourage our children to be able to spend some time with the people of Allah. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya'i wal mursaleen wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Allahumma rabbana hab lana min azwajina. Allah is a gift from your side. Let it be that our spouses and our children become the coolness of the eyes of every one of us. وَجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا. And let us also be imams for the people of piety. Let our family be unique. Allah, in your kindness, let us be unique. Rabbi habli min as-salihin. Bless me with a family, Allah, that every one of them is yours. Bless me with a family, Allah, that every one of them is yours. Rabbi ij'alni muqim as-salah wa min dhurriyyati. Rabbana wa taqabbal du'a. Allah, accept our call. Allah, accept our cry. Allah, let me be one who establishes the salah. Let my progeny be those who establish the salah. Allah, in establishing the salah, allow in my muqaddar, allow in my taqdeer, that myself, on my own efforts, I am able to put up masajid in the world. I am able to get people in the masajid. I am able to arrange for people to teach in the masajid. I am able to arrange for learning and teaching to take place in the masajid. Allah, to be able to establish the salah to the highest levels, that I myself take part in the masjid and I am the one who makes masjids. Allah, nothing is hard from your kindness. Allah, you take work from whoever you want to take. Allah, in this blessed month, Allah, during these blessed days, Allah, in these blessed hours, Allah, I ask that you accept the dua of every one of us. Make every one of us yours, Allah. Make every one of us yours, Allah. Allah, make every one of us the khadims of your deen. Allah, let our salah be only for you. Our ibadat be only for you. Our living be only for you. Our dying be only for you. Our every sacrifice only for you. Inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alameen. Allah, everything and anything only for you. Allah, let my wealth be for your deen. Allah, let my life be for your deen. Allah, let my health be for your deen. Let my living be in your happiness. Let my dying be in your happiness. Allah, let our resurrection be both in the world of the grave and on the day of Qiyamah. Allah, let our re-standing always be in the condition that you are most happy with us and we are most happy to be with you. Allahumma Rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhaban nar. Allahumma Rabbana تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم احفظنا بعينك التي لا تنام وبركنك الذي لا يرام. وصلى الله على النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.